Hi, this is Peralta Matters. I'm Jeff Heyman sitting in for Jay Calhoun. We're continuing our conversation this week with Peralta retirees. Last week's program we talked to a number of retirees and we heard their stories about how they serve students at our 4 colleges. We're going to continue the conversation with more retirees today, and I'm happy to be joined, in fact I'm honored to be joined by George Herring, who worked at the Peralta colleges for, well, I hate to say it, George, 38 years.
That's right. 38.
And you served as president of 2 colleges. You were at the College of Alameda for a long time, and Merritt College, and you were also vice chancellor. You held a number of positions at the Peralta colleges.
Yeah.
So welcome. Thank you for coming.
Well,
and more importantly, I want to say thank you for your service to our students.
Well, the students are really the most important thing, and that's what. In fact, I got to share this with you. When I got interviewed to be accepted into the doctoral program at Cal, they asked me why did I want to major in community college education, and I said, for me, that's where 80% of the minority students go to a community college.
And what year was this? So people can kind of figure out what's going on.
1968, something like that.
So civil rights movement was
it was in vogue. Yeah.
Well, that's and it's true. And to this day, community colleges is a place where people who can't get an education anywhere else or who want to start here can start. So we still offer those programs.
Yeah.
How did you get hired at the Peralta colleges?
Well, it was interesting. I had just got a master's in public policy from Berkeley and was playing tennis at the tennis courts in San Pablo, and the then president, Norvell Smith, asked me, he says, George, what are you going to do now? Well, I had been interviewed by the city manager for Berkeley, and he was going to hire me as his AA. And so Norvell said, well, how much are you going to pay you? And I told him, he said, I'll pay you $1,000 more. And I said, okay. He said, go see Bill DeRose and tell him you're hired.
Oh, that's great. Now, you did some work for the Ford Foundation. That was part of a grant that we had. Tell folks about that.
That's really what happened. The Ford Foundation was very interested in community college students and in a way to give them to segue into a 4-year college. So Merritt College had this grant of $500,000, and my job was to negotiate with the 4-year colleges to come up with a program where our students were attending Peralta would take 1 class at a 4-year college. And we started off with Berkeley, went to Holy Names, went to St. Mary's, we went to Dominican, and my job was to work with those schools to have them accepted, our students. So they would take 1 class, but the intent was to give them an opportunity while they're a student at a community college to see how it would feel being at a 4-year college. And that's really what I did. And so when I turned it over, we had about 20 colleges that we were involved with.
Wow, that's quite something. That's an opportunity for folks that they wouldn't have had.
Yes, they would not have had. And Ford was the one that started off the concurrent enrollment program. That's what we called it. They were enrolled at a community college as well as a 4-year college.
Okay. Now, you ultimately became president of College of Alameda for the longest time in Merritt College as well.
Right.
What did you do on the road to becoming college president?
Wow, boy, I had a lot of jobs.
I bet.
As I said, I got hired as a director for the Ford Foundation. Then I got hired as a dean of students at Merritt.
That's like the hardest job at a college, isn't it?
It depends on, if you're interested in students, it's easy. But if you don't like students, it could be hard. And one of the things, I got to share this story. When I was interviewed for the dean's position, one of the counselors said, George, can you stay in your office? Because I would walk, they would know that I would walk the campus sitting out and talking to students. And I found that that was the best way for me as an administrator to find out really what the students were interested in. What were our problems? How could we solve the problems? So for me, it was a great job. I mean, I was a dean for a number of years, and then got appointed to be the dean of the college, dean of administration and student services, and did that for 3 or 4 years, and then got offered an opportunity to be the interim president at the College of Alameda for a year, and did that successfully. And during that time, they advertised for a permanent position. I was successful, and I got that, and I did that for 6 years as the president. And then in 2000, they had a vacancy as a vice chancellor for the district, and they asked me to take that job as Vice Chancellor of Finance and Administration, and I did that for 2 years. And then I retired. That was about 32 years of service.
Right.
But lo and behold, they asked me to come back a couple of times. So that 38 years is really 6 years when I was retired, president of Alameda and one at Merritt.
When they called you back for service, what did that feel like? Was it sort of like, you know, I think maybe some of us always have that dream that, you know, they need you. They can't do it without you. Is that how you felt?
Well, yeah, they did. But more importantly, I loved the students. And one of the things that I did while I was president at both of the campuses, I would send, just for graduation, I would send them out a letter saying, if you're interested in telling your story, send it to me as the president. And then I selected 3 or 4 every year, and I would read their stories during graduation. And you know, you have the families there and the relatives, and it was really tremendous. And it felt good for me, but more importantly, it showed the community and the families that here are young people, men and women of all ages and ethnic origins, willing to come tell their story because they were successful.
I know this is probably an unfair question because you've dealt with so many students over the years, but anyone stand out? Any student really stand out?
God, yeah, there were 3 students. The most recent was one I was at Alameda, and a young man who had a lot of difficulty with the police while he was growing up. He came to Alameda and became a serious student. Started making A's and B's, got involved with student government. He got elected as a student body president, and lo and behold, when he graduated with a 4.0, he got accepted into Berkeley. And that was 2 years ago. So he's probably getting ready to finish now. That's one of the stories. And then there was a young lady who had some difficulties with the law, but Merritt had a program with Judge Horace Wheatley. And he and I had a program along with a counselor, Elsie Roberts, who worked with young people, and they had an option of either going to a college or going to jail. And so we worked with those students. God, we must have worked at least 8 or 9 years that I was involved with. But Elsie was the counselor. She was the spearhead. And it was a matter of a judge seeing the qualities of these young people, and we worked out that deal where we would take them at the colleges and guide them through their educational programs. And so this one young lady who really got hold of education, had 2 children, divorced, living with her parents, and the fact that she saw some value in getting an education, and she has a master's, and I don't know where she is now, but she would let me know how she was doing. She went from our campus, went to San Francisco State, got a master's from San Francisco State in teaching, and is teaching somewhere now.
Yeah, you know, you often hear that saying with community colleges, that community colleges change lives, but it's true.
It's true. It is true. It is true.
Now, I wanted to ask you, as a college president, and all those years as a dean working with students, what's it like when you're attending a graduation, when you're up there on the podium, and that long line of students with their caps and gowns are graduating? What's that feel like?
You know, Jeff, and I've done this for a lot of years, and every year I could see something new that was happening. I could hear the students. I could see their relatives and their loved ones. When their names were called and they walked across the stage and I shook their hand with a lot of trustees and others that were there. Every time I had a graduation ceremony, it was a new experience for me because it made me recognize that I had done the right thing in getting my degrees and being in a position to be a president of a college and work with those young people. Now, I didn't do it all. We had faculty, we had staff, but I thought as a president, I think it was my duty to generate that enthusiasm. And the students, they were the ones that really did the work. They did the studying, but every graduation I felt really good.
Well, George Herring, former president of both College of Alameda and Merritt College. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for all your years of service.
Oh,
really
Jeff,
appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure.
Okay.
It's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you.
Take care,
much.
buddy.
Okay, we're going to
See
see
ya.
you. And we will see you right after this break.
My first instructor, he wasn't that articulate, but he used to say, you gots to read the book.
The EMT program, it's very intense. If you're not prepared to study, then don't even bother to show up. There's a lot of people in the class who want to be firefighters, myself included.
I want to be a nurse.
Some of them are going to go on to be doctors, like this guy. He's going to be a neurosurgeon.
I want to go to medical school, so this is like, you can get some great experience, some great knowledge, and you're going to learn every single part of it.
Bleeding control, CPR, mobilization of the spinal cord. The true skill is the assessment. When they can come in and recognize a cardiac event, recognize a stroke.
You see somebody just sweating and can't breathe very well, and by asking a couple questions, you're able to figure it out, so it makes you feel really good.
I can't teach them everything in here, but if I can just get them started with thinking about assessments, that's the true skill.
Being in the EMT just really opens a lot of doors.
And after that, everything falls in place.
This is the PTV Sports Report on Peralta News.
Welcome to another edition of the PTV Sports Report here on Peralta Television. I'm Lex Gopnik, and this is our basketball season wrap-up. It was an exciting year of hoops. 2 of the 4 teams that we covered in the Peralta College District made it to the playoffs, and the other 2 gave us some exciting thrills along the way. I was able to sit down with Coach Ron Williams, head coach of the Laney Lady Eagles, and chat with him a little bit about his philosophy on basketball and life. It's the PTV Sports Report. I'm Lex Gopnik, joined by Coach Ron Williams of the Laney Lady Eagles basketball team. Thanks for spending a little bit of time with us, Coach. How is it that a guy like yourself ends up coaching women's basketball?
I was bamboozled, misled.
Okay. Laney Eagle basketball didn't land on you. You landed on Laney Eagle basketball.
That's what happened. That's what happened. You know, I actually started coaching probably 20 some odd years ago. You know, ended up coaching my daughters actually after they got in high school. Left the boys' scene, went to the girls' side. Ended up getting a job at El Cerrito High School. That's pretty much where I started. You know, was there for 7 years. Did a lot of great things. Had a lot of great kids, a lot of great athletes come out of there. You know, went to San Francisco State after that for a couple years, and then landed on at Laney with a fantabulous opportunity.
Okay. So. Final question: women, young ladies thinking about coming to Laney, pitch the Laney Eagles basketball program to those potential recruits.
Well, you know, I have conversations with ladies all the time, and they tell me about their academics, and you know, the academics are important. And some of them say they're 4.0, whatever, and that's great. But Laney College provides a unique opportunity. It's number 5 in terms of transfers to CSU and UC. The academics are top notch. It's a great environment. Basketball-wise, I don't think you're going to have a better experience. You know, my staff and I, we make sure that kids get better when you leave here. And so if you're looking for a good basketball program and you're looking for a good academic institution, Laney is definitely the place to come here. You know, it's an outstanding opportunity, I think.
And before we leave, can we get the Coach Roy look, please, for the camera? That's Coach Ron Williams. I'm Lex Gopnik, the PTV Sports Report. Thanks a lot, Coach. Appreciate it.
All right.
All right.
Thanks for watching the PTV Sports Report on Peralta News.
Okay, you're watching Peralta Matters. We'll be back right after this.
I borrow methods, techniques, and viewpoints from all the world's traditions.
I walk in the door and everything that was bugging me or all the thoughts that are always jumbling in my mind, they just stay outside. It's just nice to actually learn how to de-stress myself.
It's a tool to see how the mind works and then to utilize that tool to yield the best that life can offer.
I will leave the room and I will be very calm, and the whole tone of my experience calms down and everything seems to brighten up.
We can practice meditation under any circumstance whatsoever, to allow ourselves to accept things as they are, as it is.
I'm Congresswoman Barbara Lee. Join me in watching Peralta TV.
We're talking to Peralta College's retirees on Peralta Matters this week. Welcome back. I'm Jeff Heyman, sitting in for Jay Calhoun. We've got a special guest, Tom Turman, who has been around for about 31 years, you tell me. Yes. He was chair most recently, before he retired, of the Architecture and Engineering Department at Laney College. Tom, welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
So you're a California native too, huh?
I am, yes. Born in Sacramento.
Okay.
Yep.
And how'd you find your way over to Laney College way back when?
Well, actually, I was out of the state for a while. I came back after some time in Africa and came back to work in the Bay Area. Okay. And actually, I got involved in Laney because somebody asked us to come over and help talk about a new program. Oh. And at the end of the meeting, the guy just pointed to us and said, okay, you take this class, and you take that class, and you take this class, and we were the faculty.
Wow. So that was kind of at the beginning.
Very beginning of the department.
Wow, that's quite something. And I'm sure, you know, obviously in something like architecture and engineering, been a lot of changes over the years.
Yeah, it has been. We've went from sort of basic drawing with a pencil to CAD and whatever. I kept the drawing in the department because I think people should know how to draw, but we did move to CAD, and we've pretty much kept pace. Mm-hmm.
Have you seen
program transfers, so it's transfers to all the 4 and 5 years programs.
It's a pretty well-known program.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and it still is, even though you've retired, it still is quite.
Yeah, no, the guy running it now is doing a great job.
Yeah. Now, just over those years, I mean, has the type of student that's interested in architecture and engineering changed? Is it a different kind of person who's interested in that now?
Yes.
And
yeah,
how
sure.
so?
In the beginning, I think it was mostly people who had done construction and wanted to get a little higher than that. But as time changed, I think demographics changed, the age raised a little bit. Average age in our department was 26, 27. Mm-hmm.
It's much higher now,
yeah. And then I think a lot of people realized they could go on further because the program transferred. Mm-hmm. And so we had, you know, a variety of kinds of people who really were interested in architecture, and our job was to keep them all in the same room.
Yeah. Now, you have a book that you published that has some very, very interesting stories. What's the name of the book, and where can people get it?
Yeah, the book is named Teacher, Stories to be Read and Graded by Friday. So it's a book for teachers about teaching, and it's a bunch of the stories of my students, the students that I'd seen there over the period of time.
Okay. And if people write us, we'll tell them where they
can it's at Ex Libris is the publisher.
Okay.
And you can get it through them. You can get it through to me. By me, I can probably get you a copy if you really want to contact me and find out. I'd prefer to do it that way just because I then see who gets the book.
Right. There's some great, I've read the book, and there's some great stories in there. Why don't you tell us one or two?
Okay. Probably a good story is one called Little Man Harold. And it's about a young guy who came to me, a very young kid, probably about 18, 19, dressed completely in white, the African-American kid, but really fancy. Came in, was an interesting kid, flashed into the classroom and sat down and told me I should call him Little Man. And I said, well, now around here we do names, so what's your name? He reluctantly gave me his name as Harold. And Harold went through the program, did really well, but he was dressed in white because he thought that was a cool way to dress. He looked a little shady, I have to say, because of that. And I asked him about it. He took me finally to his bar. He owned a bar. And he had several women in there that were connected to him in one way or another. And he had 2 bodyguards. And so he sat me down and he said, look, I got to get out of this business because if in this business, I will probably be dead before I'm 21. And his 2 bodyguards were pretty much telling me that. He carried a gun to class. I had told him he couldn't do that. He had to leave that at home. And he had a big stretch limo that waited for him outside the classroom right there on Fallon Street. Wow. For every class. And I probably get a little emotional when I talk about this kid, but he made it through the program, went to Cal, and would come back and talk to me. And at the end of a semester, he came and showed me his drawings, and it was really wonderful. And he was on his way to his last year, and he was killed in a drive-by shooting.
Wow. Yeah, but you know, at least You did make a difference in his life. You tried, and that's the kind of student we try to reach out to at the Peralta College.
Got his brother into the class, and he actually went through the program, so it was quite good.
What year was this, just so people can imagine?
This was, well, I don't know, trusting my memory now, it's probably about 12 years ago.
12 years ago, okay.
12, 13 years ago, something like that.
Now, you were also involved with the development of the Laney College sign.
Yes.
The famous neon sign that's at the top of the building. We only have about 30 seconds left in this segment, but can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, Odell Johnson was the president. He got some money from renting out the parking lot to the carnival. I pressed him into giving me the money. I found the contractors to put that original sign up there, and there were Hell's Angels in Richmond. And they came on their bikes to put up the sign, hung their fannies over the edge of that 9th floor up there, and installed that very first sign.
And that's a famous sign that sort of graces the cityscape of Oakland.
Sure, yes.
Hung by Hell's Angels.
Yeah, hung by Hell's Angels. Actually, a woman called after the sign was put in and called the president and said, "You can't do that. You build a building right in my view." And he said, "No, no, look, it's the same building. We just put the sign on the side." "No, no, that building hasn't been there." Well, the whole point was that nobody knew where Laney College was.
And now
now they do.
Yeah, it's on the
And we had to redo it. It's been redone, but they called me to help with redoing that too, so I've done that.
It's an iconic building, thanks to you.
I think it's a good idea. Laney College goes all the way around the buildings.
Yeah. Well, Tom, thank you so much. And again, like we're saying to all the retirees, thank you for all your years of service and how you've changed students' lives. We really appreciate it.
Well, it was worth it. You know, students come up to me all the time. Just 2 days ago, somebody came up and showed me their registration as an architect.
That's great.
And that was good.
Okay. Thanks again.
Sure.
We're in the wood shop here at Laney College. This is wood technology. Vocational is our focus, career technical education.
You can go through the whole process from milling your wood, gluing it up, getting it machined.
You'll learn about the machines, the terminology, and most importantly, how to work safely.
We have a time saver, belt sander, the joiner, the planer.
There's a lot of students that already know carpentry, they're already doing construction work, but they've never learned safety.
In the last few years, we have developed our technology. We are lucky to have a full CAD lab here. We have a computerized panel saw, and we also have a CNC machine, a point-to-point machine.
One of the latest machines available in woodworking.
Several of the students in this class are architects. They enjoy designing, and now they can learn to fabricate. You can come here, and it kind of gives you a leg up on the competition. I enjoy the medium myself. I like making things out of wood, so that's sort of what brings everyone in here.
You've been watching Peralta Matters. I'm Jeff Heyman. I've been sitting in for Jay Calhoun. He'll be back next week. I want to thank you for watching our program and tune in every week. And until then, do something that matters.
Peralta TV, programs that matter. Peralta TV.
This is the PTV Sports Report on Peralta News. The 2011 Merritt College Thunderbirds basketball team soared to new heights this year and put the Bay Valley Conference on notice with the 2nd seed in the playoffs. Our own Terrell Price caught up with the head coach of Merritt College Thunderbirds, Keenan McMiller, for a one-on-one.
You ready to rock and roll?
Oh yeah.
All right. I like that. That was good, man. So, you know, obviously a lot of people want to get to know Coach McMiller. And of course, Coach McMiller's been a coach here now in your first season. Why did you ever want to get into coaching?
You know what? Bad coaching. Bad coaching in college. When I left Merritt, I had excellent coaching here, was all, you know, pumped up, ready to play 4 year. Went to San Francisco State, and things just weren't the way I thought they should be, you know, and I said, I know more kids are going through this.
Let's talk about coaching kids today.
Okay.
What do you feel, you know, kids in 6th and 7th grade, why is it important for them to really focus in on their grades and their study habits, even though they want to be an athlete?
Number one, that's what the world's about. You have to get in school off merit. 2, it's discipline. To study,
to go to, you know, preparatory classes, you know, tutor sessions with your teachers. You have to do that. Just teaching you discipline and those fundamental basics that are going to help you succeed in life.
Let's talk about you.
Okay.
You mentioned you went to St. Mary's High School.
St. Mary's High School and California High School. So I had a little bit of both, though I was born and raised in Oakland.
Now, the California High School in San Ramon?
Yes.
So you were a Bear and a, hold on, St. Mary's
and a Panther.
And a Panther, that's right.
No, graduated from Cal High.
Okay.
And then came back home.
Yeah.
My coaches, I had that offer I was telling about, LMU.
Yeah.
And ended up falling through. I had some, not academic issues, you know, not performance issues, but maturity issues.
Sure.
So my coach didn't think I was ready.
Yeah.
You know, so he recommended that I go to Santa Rosa Junior College.
Not
and
bad.
I was like,
too far away.
Yeah, I don't want to go there. I'm going home. You know, so I'm coming back to Merritt. So that's where I came.
So if I'm a kid out there, you know, I'm one at the Oakland high schools or maybe one of the outlining areas, why do I want to make Merritt my choice, maybe over some of the other community colleges around the Bay?
The one thing I'm going to say is that, number one, I'm going to make sure that you're on the page to graduate. That's the most important part. You're going to take the right classes. If it's going to take you a little bit more process, some of these kids academically coming in, they might have to be here for 3 years. So we'll make sure, and that hopefully 2, but if it is 3, you're going to be in the right classes and you're going to graduate. Secondly, you know, we're now building a winning program here. It's a place where guys are getting exposure. Now I'm getting calls all the time, and I'm getting leads before probably other coaches.
And it must feel good giving student athletes scholarships, free ride education.
Exactly. Oh no, that's what it's all about. I mean, when given the opportunity,
you get a free ride.
Exactly. Take advantage of it. Come up here, just do what we ask. Work hard.
Yeah.
Work hard in the classroom. You know, on the court.
Yeah.
And be able to be mentored. You're going to grow as a young man, and you're going to get that opportunity.
And that's what it's about: making mistakes so you can learn to grow.
That's right. That's right.
Thanks for talking with us. I appreciate it, man. It's always good.
Thanks for watching the PTV Sports Report on Peralta News.